Hi everybody, I am James the Man's Man and welcome to another fun, exciting episode of The Man's Kitchen. Now I know I'm a little bit behind on this video. I've had some family issues that I had to deal with the past week and it put me behind on my shooting schedule. So today we are going to be making a Genoise with creme chantilly and raspberry jam. Now what does that mean? Genoise is the fancy French term for sponge cake. I'm not using a cake box, we're baking this from scratch today. And in front of me, I've got my recipe card that I got 10 years ago at Fanshawe College, where I went to cooking school. Now you might be asking yourself, James, why are you, the man's man, using a recipe card? Can't you just bake? No, I can't. I can follow methods, I can follow directions, but baking is like chemistry, it's a science. Your recipes need to be balanced or they don't turn out right, so it's always good to consult your recipe card. Now before we continue with this, I just want to ask everybody, if you like the channel, please hit subscribe. If you like this video, please hit like. And if you feel like donating to Teespring or Patreon, links will be below in the description. Now, the first thing we need to do is get ourselves prepped up. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our cake ring ready to go. This recipe calls for a 1-inch by 8-inch cake is what we're going to make. So I have this dialed out to 8 inches. Now, some of you may or may not be familiar with a cake ring that has no bottom. How am I going to keep the batter in here? Parchment paper. We are going to make this out of parchment paper. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a knife. We're going to pull out the parchment paper. Set our cake ring in the middle. And we're done with the paper. Now, this cake ring is a little trickier because it's expandable, so it has these handles here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this here, and I want to, wherever I start is going to be near where I finish, and I don't want to start or finish at these tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over. I'll make a hard fold there, and I'm going to fold it over again. Now, when I fold this over third time, I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start folding it on an angle. Okay? So we'll just start rotating this as we go. Now, can you use a regular cake pan with a regular bottom? Of course you can. You use whatever you have. I just happen to have a pro style one with a hole in the bottom. Now this cake ring is expandable. I can go up to a 24-inch cake if I want. So if I wanted to make wedding cakes, and I don't, then I could roll this out full size, bake my bottom tier, make a second cake medium sized, make a third cake smaller size, and tier them all. What you want to be careful when you're doing this is that you're not sliding out. You want to keep it tight against where you've already been. Okay, see, when I was saying this one will give you a little bit of trouble because of the ends. I gotta get underneath it. It's easier to stay tight on one that's a fixed dimension. Basically, when you get near the end, you kind of just want to roll it up without deforming the pan too much, okay? When you get good at this, and I haven't done this in a while, when you get good at this, you'll be able to flip it over and tap on it like it's a drum. But what we have there is good enough. So, what do we need for our cake? For the cake, we need eggs, sugar, and flour. How much do we need? If you haven't done a cake from scratch before, basically, these two are equal, and these two are just a little more than this. So the recipe I have here called for 220 grams of eggs, 125 grams of sugar, 125 grams of flour, and 3 tablespoons of melted butter that's sitting in the microwave. When you get recipes, you should try and do them the way they come. So since this is in grams, what you should try and do is get a scale, measure it out. I gotta be honest with you, I don't have a scale at home, so I went on Google, I did a rough conversion. Basically I have a half a cup, and 5. So what this wants us to do is to whip the eggs with the sugar until we get to the ribbon stage. So we're gonna put these in our KitchenAid mixer. And if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, that's fine. You can do this with a whisk. You can do this with an egg beater. It's just gonna take you a little longer with a whisk. An egg beater works just fine. I happen to have a KitchenAid mixer, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna lock our bowl in, nice and tight. We're gonna take our whisk, we're gonna put it in here, drop it, lock it in place, and we can put our dirty bowls in the sink. So what is the ribbon stage? Well, the ribbon stage is basically gonna be, after everything's incorporated, what you can do with the ribbon stage is you can put it on, you can dip a wooden spoon in there if you want, and you can blow on it. And basically if the waves kind of hold still, you're at the ribbon stage. So we're just gonna turn this on. We're gonna whip her up. I got this on 6. And we're gonna wait.
It's going.
All right, so we turn this up to 10 and we let it go for a few minutes. I just started out at 6 just to get her working. And then once we turn it up to 10, we let it go for about 3 or 4 minutes. And you can see what I have is I have lots of air bubbles. And this is another thing about the ribbon stage. You don't have to just blow on a spoon. If you take your whisk and move it around and whip it over here, you can see that it holds its shape just for a second before it disappears. And that's all that we need for the ribbon stage. Now we want to put it on low gear and let it run for a few more minutes. And that's basically going to allow maximum incorporation of everything in the batter here. So we're going to put that on 2, and we're going to let it run for about 2 minutes. Okay, so it's been about another 2 minutes of whipping. So this is those 5 eggs and that half a cup of sugar, and you can see how much it's increased in volume. We're done with the whisk, so we'll shake it off. And the whole point of this is to get it light and fluffy. So now we're going to add our flour, and we're going to sift the flour in. And the reason is to incorporate air. We want this to be light, fluffy, and airy. So we're going to sift in this flour. The faster we go, the better. You can sift the flour into a bowl and then pour it in too. Or you can do this, whatever you want. Okay, we're done with these. Grab this by the handle. We'll take our spatula and we're just going to fold it in. Scrape the edges down. Every time you turn it, you lose volume. So you want to do this fast. Okay. And finally, we're also going to fold in our melted butter. And that's going to give it just a little bit more richness, a little more decadence. We're going to fold it in. Just scrape down the bowl from the bottom. Give it a fold. See, there's still a little bit of raw flour, you can see it. And this is our homemade cake batter. Can you make chocolate? Sure. Can you leave it plain like this? Of course you can. There's a big thing of flour down there at the bottom. Just gonna mix that up. Otherwise, we're gonna have pockets of flour in our cake. So give that a little bit of an extra fold because I know where it is. I'm just kind of folding that area because I don't want to lose all my volume. Okay. There. Now we should have that whipped in. Oh, there's a little bit. So all I'm doing, because I can see a little more flour, is I'm just turning it over while I pour it out. I'm trying to get it all mixed in without leaving this too lumpy. I'm doing a poor job at it, but I think it's going to turn out okay. Just get a little stir in there. Okay, we get all the batter. I saw that there's a little bit of flour still in the center. Just gonna give a little stir here. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that's all fine now. Okay. So, give that a little wipe there. Put that in. Now we have our cake ready to go in the oven. Right in the center. And we're going to put a 20-minute timer. Oop, not 2 hours, 20 minutes. Cancel. There, 20-minute timer at 350 degrees. Okay, so like I said, we're making Genoa with creme chantilly, and creme chantilly is the fancy term for whipped cream. So what we need is 35% cream, icing sugar, and vanilla extract. Now, any cream over 30% fat will whip. You can't buy 30% cream in Canada. What we sell here is you can get 5%, which is like a light cream, 10% is like a coffee cream, 18% is like a cooking cream, and then 35% for whipping cream. So, and these used to be 250 milliliter small ones here, which is a cup. Now they're 237. Still the same price though. It'll work just fine. So we're going to open that up into our bowl. Okay, so now that that's in there, we're going to lock it into the mixer. Now, do you have to use a mixer? No. Can you do this by hand? Of course you can. And if you're going to do this by hand, what I'm going to suggest to you is put your bowl, put your whisk in the fridge, even in the freezer. The colder the stuff is when you're doing this by hand, the faster it's going to go. And the bigger the bowl, the better. So if you have a big monster bowl, tuck it in your arm there and whip it like that, because the bigger the bowl, the bigger the surface area, the more air you can incorporate, the faster you're going to do this. If you have to do this by hand because you don't have a KitchenAid mixer or you don't have an egg beater, the smaller the bowl, the longer it's going to take. So we're going to put our wire whisk attachment back in, drop the head, lock it in place. We're going to crank this thing up full blast, and we're going to let it go till it starts aerating and increasing in size. After it's about 75% of the way there, we're going to start putting in extra ingredients. So you can see that already there's air bubbles around the side, and the way that the whisk is moving is that it's beating everything in, and it's going to allow this to increase in volume because of all the air that it's going to incorporate. And we're going to let this go for a few minutes. Now you can see that it's starting to get stiff on the inside. We're going to let it go just a touch more before we start adding ingredients. And we're going to turn that down, unlock it. And it's okay to check this stuff. You're not gonna wreck it by, right, so we're just before a firm peak. Because for the most part it does hold its shape, and then it will collapse after a minute or so. So what does this call for us to add? 2 tablespoons of icing sugar and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And you don't have to use icing sugar or vanilla extract. If you wanted to, you could put honey in here or maple syrup, right? It really depends on which flavor profile you want for your finished product. So I'm going to add these one at a time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn it on to a medium-high speed. I'm going to let that work it in. Get our 1/4 teaspoon now. There. And we're going to let that whip itself a little firm. You can do this while your cake's baking. You can do this after you bake your cake if you want. Because for best results when you bake a cake, you want to let it sit overnight before you decorate it anyways. So you can throw your cake in the oven, do this. You can do this the next morning. Doesn't matter. It all depends on your time frame and when you want to do things. Okay. Now, I do have to caution you with one thing. If you go too far, you're going to end up with butter. And this is perfect right here. We have a nice, firm, stiff whipped cream. This has the consistency of Cool Whip out of the package right now. That is so good. It's a lot more, at these ratios though, this is a lot more mellow than what you're used to. What it is when I went to school, our baking teacher was from Germany. So all of his recipes are European based, which basically means they're a little undersweet if you eat a typical North American diet. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a little more refined, you might say. So we're gonna beat this off. This is gonna go in the sink, and this is gonna go in the fridge. Okay, so cake's out of the oven, and I have a slight confession. I had to bake 2 cakes because the first one, my batter was a little runny, and my drum was not quite tight enough on the side here. So it leaked out. So I thought I would show you this. Instead of just pulling this one out and pretending I did it perfectly, I thought I'd show you this, just so you can see what happens when you're not quite right. So what you would do is you would peel this off. You would take your palette knife. You would run it on the inside. Okay. Now, I've been picking at this on the sides. There's nothing horribly wrong with it. It's a little heavy though. It's not quite as light and floofy as it should be. So, I mean, it's still quite tasty.
Go.
So, we're not going to use this. I mean, it's fine to pick at and eat. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is the second one that I'm in. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take our knife, our bread knife, and we're going to cut it in the center. We're going to lift the top layer off. We're going to put a jam, or in this case a jelly filling in it. We're going to reassemble it. So this is how you do it. You could bake 2 cakes. You could jam this. You could put another cake on top. But the proper technique that I'm going to show you is how to do it off of one cake. So we're going to start in the middle. And we're just going to cut it back and forth like a saw, and then we're going to turn it. And what you want to do is you want to go about halfway each time. Now what happened was when I was flipping it over is I lost a part of the center here in my hand because I was being a little impatient and I didn't let it cool right enough. So that's why I don't have the crust here. And that's where my knife's going to run into some problems. Yeah, because I can actually see the blade through there. And I've made it almost all the way around. So we're going to try and put, what you should have is you should have a lifter like this, twice as wide. I don't have one, I can't find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try this. Put this here. I'm going to come on the other side. Okay, so we have a giant ring in the middle. My bad. And that's because I was impatient when I took this out, and that stuck to my hand. Then we'll grab a spoon. I'll plop some of this down. Now, if your cake isn't perfect like mine, that's fine. You're making this at home. It's for your kids. It's for your husband. It's for your wife. They're not going to care. They're going to care that you tried and you made it from scratch. And why would you want to make it from scratch instead of a box? Well, because you know exactly what you're putting in it from scratch. You saw all we put in here was butter, sugar, flour, eggs. That was it. And you can even go ahead and make your own jam. Okay, this is jelly, so it's a little stick, a little harder, but we're just gonna put it around. Okay, once we get a nice center there, try and get it even.
Go.
Okay, so when we got that on, we're gonna grab a spoon, we're gonna go into our bowl of icing sugar. Top it up. Okay. Now, take our piping bag. And you can really see, like I would have had enough material there had I not been a klutz when I was taking it out of the ring. So we'll put some of our homemade creme chantilly in here. Okay, and what we're going to do to make our rosettes is we're going to start in the middle. We're going to come around as a circle and finish on the top. And we're going to put 8 of these on there. So an 8-inch pie can get served into 8 slices. So I have 2, I need to get 6 more on. So 3 more. So I'll go 12, 6, and then I'll go 3 and 9. Right, I got 4 there. Okay. Oh, don't do that. But if you do it, it's okay because we're eating this at home. And just a bit more. Oh. There you go. So there we have our cake. Now we got 8 slices is what we're going to get when we cut this with our bread knife. Let's cut it in half right now. Okay. All I gotta do is just cut between the rosettes. And you're gonna get a nice cake. Now you're gonna want to make cakes from scratch like this. Maybe this is something you do often in your home. They'll get better looking eventually, I promise. With practice, makes perfect. I'm making the cake today because I thought it'd be a fun video to make, but I haven't made a cake in a long time and it shows. We keep doing this together online here. I'll make some more cakes, you'll watch some more videos. They'll look a lot better, but I'm guarantee you that that tastes good. It's so light and fluffy. So good.